Good evening, Nigeria, and welcome to Politics Now. Tonight, your primetime dive into the heart of our nation's political pulse. I'm Morno Bala Gbogbo, live from our studio here in Abuja. Well, tonight we will be unpacking two explosive stories shaking the corridors of power. First is the intensifying EFCC and Senate probes into the NNPC's alleged financial black holes, billions missing, accounts frozen, and ultimatums flying. EFCC Senate NNPC probe, that is $1.5 billion refinery fraud and 210 trillion naira gaps. That is our focus on the conversation tonight. Well, you can see the talking points right there on your screen. We'll talk about the EFCC pursuit of 1.5 billion naira refinery funds. Frozen accounts and carries links raises stakes. But will EFCC deliver indictments or stall again? Secondly, we'll be looking at the Senate's 210 trillion naira audit ultimatum. NNPC's weak excuses faces a 10-day deadline, genuine accountability or political grandstanding. And finally, we will look at selective probes on the fire. Serap is demanding broader action on scams like 3 million naira assembly fees as public distrust grows over EFCC's focus. Well, joining us tonight to make a great analysis of what is going on is Ben Emerua. He is a lawyer, a civil rights activist. Well, later on the show tonight, we will touch on the fierce battle over PDP's national convention, the fallout from the recent by-elections where APC dominated amid rigging, cries, and the struggles of opposition parties like ADC in building a credible challenge. And that is why we are focusing on opposition politics tonight, looking at the PDP convention clash, making sense of some of the comments made by the FCT minister on that primetime interview on national television yesterday. We'll also talk about the by-election losses and ADC struggles. So looking at the first talking point on your screen, Wike's venue fight and leadership battles threaten party unity ahead of 2027. That is our first talking point. Our second talking point, we're looking at the by-election fallout. APC's 12-seat sweep overshadows PDP's lone Oyo win, with Wigan claims questioning INEC's credibility. And finally, ADC's coalition's collapse. Atiku Obi alliance flops in polls, with logistics failures dimming 2027 prospects. But they are saying, oh no, we shouldn't talk about 2027 right now in comparison to the by-elections that happened last week, Saturday, as that can't be a litmus test of what is going to happen in 2027. Well, our guest, John Schreibel, political analyst, joins us live from Abuja via video call. He is a former PDP member, and also we'll have Tonye Bakanista, who is not a first timer to the show. He will help us make sense of what is the path for opposition as a member of the PDP. We'll take a quick breather. When we come back, we'll break it all down. To stay with us. Good to have you back again. So we start with the high-stakes scrutiny on the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, where allegations of massive corruption are mounting. For those not following closely, here is the breakdown. The EFCC is deep into investigations over the suspicious transactions, including the freezing of bank accounts linked to former Group Managing Director Melal Kyari. Court documents reveal probes into conspiracy, abuse of office, and money laundering tied to billions in unaccounted funds. This stems from a broader Senate inquiry uncovering over 210 trillion naira in audit discrepancies, funds that should have bolstered our economy but vanished into thin air. The House of Reps are also probing $13.9 billion in alleged non-remittance to the Federation account. And also the Arewa youths and civil groups like Serap are demanding full transparency, criticizing what they call selective anti-corruption efforts, while everyday Nigerians grapple with fuel scarcity and rising costs. This isn't just numbers, it's about trust in our oil sector, which generates over 90% of export earnings, yet leaves refineries like Port Harcourt in disrepair, despite billions allocated. Now, let's hit on the three talking points before we bring in our guests who are live with us. You look at the 1.5 billion refinery funds frozen in Kyari's links, which is raising stakes. But will EFCC deliver indictments or stall again? I can't wait to talk to my guests about this. The EFCC has recovered portions of the $1.5 billion meant for Port Harcourt refinery rehab and $740 million for Kaduna, but the trail leads to former execs. Kyari's accounts were frozen this week amid evidence of diverted funds, yet critics point to EFCC's history of high-profile cases fizzling without convictions. Do remember the Yaya Bello saga, but that one is not for tonight. Now, this probe could expose systematic contract inflation in NNPC, where rehab projects balloon from estimates without results. Now, you look at the Senate's ultimatum, NNPC's weak excuses, which is already facing a 10-day deadline, genuine accountability, or political grandstanding. The Senate Public Accounts Committee, after uncovering 210 trillion naira in unremitted revenues and audit gaps from 2016 to 2022, rejected NNPC's leadership retreat excuse for non-appearance and issued a fresh 10-day ultimatum last month. This follows a June alarm over similar discrepancies, but skeptics see it as a theater, and Senate probes often end in reports gathering dots, especially NNPC's status as a limited company, shielding it from full oversight. Now, Serap demands broader action on scams like the 3 million naira assembly fees as public distrust grows over EFCC's focus. Serap and others are pushing EFCC and ICPC to investigate wider issues like illegal 3 million naira fees for National Assembly jobs and contract racketeering across agencies, while zero in on NNPC when oil subsidy scams and forex manipulations practically affects millions. Well, public outcry is rising, with polls showing 70% of Nigerians believing anti-corruption fights are politically motivated. We will get to our poll, but let's just give you this rundown of infographics. We won't take everything because some of it we've touched on, but you can see from the first infographic there, the missing funds breakdown. So there you can see both the one for Kaduna Refinery, those that were partially recovered, the total audit, all of it is right there on your screen. We look at the second infographic, the impact on Nigeria's oil sector. Oil exports, as percentage of revenue, you see 90%. And revenue capacity utilization is less than 30%, despite billions invested. What happened to all those monies? And the public distrust, a lot of us believe it is selective. So to dig deeper, we turn to our guest, and of course, Ben Emeruwa, who is a legal practitioner and a human rights activist known for anti-corruption and advocacy. Okay, we also have John Schweib. He's a political analyst, and of course, he's a businessman and will help us make sense of what is going on at the moment. Schweib, can you hear us? Good evening, and thank you for being with us tonight.
Good evening.
Okay, John, you will help us log out of your device and probably try to log in again so that we can make it work tonight. We're also hoping John Schweib joins us also tonight on the show. I do hope we can connect with him. We just have less than 30 minutes to get this segment done with. While we are polishing our connections with our guest, last month we saw some of the comments shared by popular senator in Edo State, Adams Oshiomhole, speaking with his fellow colleagues and probing the activities of the NNPC new boss. Let's take a look at some of those sound bites, and then we'll come back having polished connections with our guests and get down to this very important. All right, we can seem to lay our hands on it. We'll take a quick breather. We'll be right back to stay with us.
From Lagos to Lome, Port Harcourt to Accra, LN 24/7 delivers your brand across borders, TV, satellite, and online. We are where your customers are.
For them to, be seen or heard, they have to do something crazy.
Africa is watching. Let them watch you. LN 24/7. Go.
At LN27 to you.
Is failing to protect Christian.
And from Nigeria, we go to Kenya, where President William Ruto.
It was powerful all over the world.
Local and international news.
Every hour, every day.
And the deal was struck.
Here on LN 24/7.
The eyes have it.
Would you say he had it coming?
LN24/7. Where the story goes, we go.
What makes the political system what it is today? What are the recurring issues? The tussle for power.
An extremely problematic area.
The tension. The instability of the system. Join LN 24/7 as we take you inside the local and international political arena in the world of politics.
The golden age of America begins right now. I will very simply put America first.
Watch Politics Now on LN 24/7.
Don't miss Politics Now on LN 24/7.
Thank you so much for your patience tonight. We're still hooking up with our guest. It's been quite a rainy day this evening, but hopefully we can get the conversation going. John, can you hear me now? Okay, whenever we can get you. Also, Ben Emiro joining us from Rivers State, Nigeria. Of course, that is the home base of Nigeria's oil and gas industry. And I'm really looking forward to having this conversation with him so that we can break things down tonight. Well, while we're waiting for our guests, let's just brush through some key things that we intend to uncover tonight. You're looking at the frozen accounts and Kyari's links. Not just Kyari now, but close family members. That's some of the exposure that was done by the EFCC and the Abuja court that froze some of his accounts pending when all the investigations will be clearly sorted out. So how feasible is it for EFCC to trace these refinery funds through complex international transactions, and what technical barriers in Nigeria's oil accounting system enables such diversions? That is really a big question, and this uncovering. I mean, he's been there in that position for almost 8 years, and there's just a whole lot of explaining to do. How was he able to amass all those monies in those accounts that have been uncovered? And there's just quite a lot that we hope to see, and we just hope that this will not just be just another ramblings by the EFCC. Do you recall the Yaya Bello case, like I mentioned in my introduction? How well did that fare? And from a legal standpoint, why does the EFCC indictments in similar high-profile cases often stall with lack of evidence, political interference, weak laws? I mean, and how could this refinery probe differ? This is one question I'm hoping to be able to tackle with Ben Emeruwa. And of course, we're reaching out to Onyeba Kanista to also jump in on the conversation. But as soon as any of them is live with us, we'll get straight into the conversation. And these are really very key questions. You're looking at how enormous these monies are, and all the whole talks of removing fuel subsidy, and I mean a lot of corruption. And you do recall when President Bola Tinubu came in, one of the first statements he made was subsidy is gone, because that seemed to be the height of political corruption amongst the elites of the elites in this country, who for years have continued to milk the nation's scarce resources. And this money's been paid right from the Goodluck Jonathan administration, even up till the Muhammadu Buhari administration, until Bola Tinubu came in and said it is time to let it go. And this is a very big story, and we do hope we can get on board with our guests to actually tackle and get to the root cause of this. Will this just be another play in the media where the EFCC is just dancing all around with all the whole media rhetorics, and at the end of the day we'll not really get to the bottom of how those funds got into those accounts, the Jaiz bank accounts, according to the reporting of yesterday. Also, we're looking at our second talking point. I mean, we've seen the National Assembly several times. They come up, they say they're doing this probing this, all of that. You see them so passionate talking about this. And this time around, according to the reporting, the Senate has discovered that the second reporting from the NNPC is showing, I mean, some discrepancies. The Senate is looking at over 210 trillion naira, and they're asking them to give all of those explanations. NNPC claims operational autonomy as a limited company. Does this ultimatum hold real teeth, or is it just undermined by Petroleum Industry Act's loopholes? We really need to get into this. And of course, the Senate probes genuine accountability or just grandstanding ahead of the 2027 elections. I mean, is this supposed to excite Nigerians? And of course, it's exciting for the fact that we're even talking about it tonight, amidst all the whole talks of the president needs to do better to fight corruption, and now we're having him fight corruption this time around, fighting his predecessor, God bless the late Muhammadu Buhari, who was the one who appointed Milal Kyari into this position as Minister of Petroleum. Let's not also forget that President Muhammadu Buhari was Minister of Petroleum. So was he aware of these funds, but now he's not alive to explain himself? So this is another indictment on the previous administration. It's just so unfortunate that the president is no longer with us. So how will the minister be able to explain that the person that he appointed as president had all of these monies in his account in the first place? This is really troubling and mind-boggling. And of course, within the couple of days, we'll get more details from the investigations that are currently going on and get to uncover what is really, really behind how these funds came into these said accounts. On our third talking point, we're looking at selective probes on the fire. Beyond the NNPC, we're looking at what broader energy sector scams like subsidy fraud deserves equal EFCC attention, and how do they impact fuel prices for average Nigerians? That is the question that we have been asking for some quite. I mean, anytime we talk about the Nigerian oil and gas sector, is always how is this going to really make life, I mean, better for the average Nigerians? And of course, I mean, this is just still a work in progress, talking about investigations. There's still time for Milal Kyari to clear his name, because this is not a media trial, and we don't intend to have one on the show tonight. We're just looking at the fact presented to us by the investigation so far coming from the EFCC. And these are things that we really need to get into all of the details. Then, very importantly, SERAP's call for a wider probe this is resonating with a lot of us. As journalists, of course, we're very excited about the idea of a probe. We've always called for probes. They need to look into the fact that the River State Refinery, with all of the monies that were spent, you know, there was a time where they said, oh, it was 50% mechanically complete. It was 80% mechanically complete. And then it got to 90%. And then they said the refineries were functioning and all of it was in good order. And then they said, okay, it's just, you know, some of the byproducts that we are producing at the moment. And then all of a sudden the Dangote refinery came on, and then we all forgot that we had a national refinery. And calls for wider probe is resonating. How can civil society force EFCC to address systematic issues like assembly job fees without appearing biased? These are very, very key, important issues. We're still having challenges getting our guests to connect online. Please do stay with us. We'll be right back as we tidy up efforts to get our guests back on the show. Do stay with us. All right, good to have you back with us. We have word now that John Schreiber is able to connect with us. Hello, John. Thank you so much for being with us on the show tonight. Can you hear me?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I can hear you clearly, loud and
All
clear.
right, good to have you with us. So before we delve into the issue of opposition politics, I'm sure you are conversant about the EFCC's probe with the, with NNPC and also Senate looking at over 210 trillion naira financial discrepancies. They're calling it gaps, and they've given a 10-day ultimatum to NNPC to explain himself. But how can the new GC CEO explain himself when he's just new in office? How does that work? You also look at Melal Kyari's accounts, they've been frozen. I mean, those monies, how did they get there? That's the question that EFCC is asking. And because we're really out of time on this segment, what are your general overview on what is going on? Is this political grandstanding? Because some of us are quite shocked because we know how politics works in this country. The late President Muhammadu Buhari was a member of the APC. He was the one who brought Melal Kyari into the office. And let's not forget that Muhammadu Buhari served as Minister for Petroleum. So now all these funds are coming into light. At a point, they said that the refineries were mechanically complete, I think 90%. Then later, they said they were fully functional. And now we can't really fully explain the productivity level of these refineries, that a lot of money, humongous sums of money, have been expended so far. So in your thoughts, can you play out what is going on? Do you think these are investigations that are currently on are genuine? And what's at play here, especially, I mean, this is a political program, so everything is politics. Just unpack your thoughts for us.
Well, quick, thank you very much. I believe the issue of NNPC probes here and there over the years have been something that to us Nigerians it will be bewildering because we have never seen anything concrete come out of all those probes, aside from all the political probe we've had when we start from the days of the Zani and Co, where they stated at 12 billion and all that, and we hear back and forth the repair of refineries and all that. But let's start this past 9, 10 years, see and all that with the president who was a commissioner. So if Malam Carey is said to be under probe and with such money is found in his account, and they spent about $18 billion to ensure that they fix the refineries, which today they tell us is almost they are even completed. Oh, in fact, they got to a point that we saw where they said they were refineries were functioning, where trucks, we don't know where they kept the fuel, and they said they were going to supply Nigerians. And suddenly there was no fuel again, right? Politics is all behind all this stuff because we cannot tell me, even presently, 1.5 billion refinery fraud and the two, you can't tell me government is not aware. Where is the money? It must have traces. They have all the, what's it called, instrument of power to trace all the funds. They know where it's going to. There must be, because industry is a serious business, that kind of business where only the powerful can do it, and the powerful will always cover their tracks. So it will surprise me if it's one of those things that will not go. We saw what happened during Yakubu's time. Nothing. At the end of the day, we're giving some frivolous excuses and nothing. The case died off until probably when it passed on. So this, I feel, is one of those cases again that we will not see the end of the day or any judgment that will affect the cartel in quote, because I see the oil industry as a cartel where only you can't break it easily. So I see this as another grandstanding country. And don't forget, in 2 years of this administration, what can you actually say? Why can't they actually find out proofs or with facts why this what's it called fraud is taking place? So I don't see anything coming out of it to pass Before you know, either the man will declare for APC and his sins will be cleared. Maybe that's what will happen again.
Hopefully, we'll see how it plays out, and if it's just a matter of political grandstanding. We're still finding it very challenging to connect with the legal expert to really share his thoughts on what is really going on. But before we move on to talk about opposition politics, John, what are your thoughts on what the Senate is doing? I mean, they're talking about 210 trillion naira gap. The report that NNPC had submitted to them and the latest report they have, they are seeing a sort of discrepancy. So what are your thoughts on really what is at play here? How do they get somebody who is not in office to explain? That's what do you want Ojulari to be able to do, since he's just, on board in office, he's got targets to deliver for the president?
What to do, they do. Call Mele Kayari, let him come and answer to these questions. They have departments that can answer to this. Let them call them. Why are they calling Ojulari? Ojulari does not have anything to do because he just came in. They should be able to call someone who has been on that seat, saw the transactions through, to come explain himself. See, for me, the Senate probe will just be another shenanigan where they will just call people and then maybe grissoms, and then before you know the guys. When people are looking for money days in this country, we have never seen real high profile, fraudulent cases being seen to the end where people get to justice. So that is a problem I have. Anything coming out of this thing, truly, because Mele Kayari is an APC man, because he could have been appointed. He doesn't have any affiliation with APC. So you think the Senate that's made up of APC and then guilty? Let's come off it. They are joking. I see it's just a political shenanigan.
All right, now we're still looking at this issue of Mele Kayari. Do you think freezing his accounts is enough? Especially in this country, when you begin to talk the legal angle, many will argue that you will need to go to a court of law to properly explain yourself, and then the court gives an injunction in terms of punishment. When you look at the way EFCC goes about some of these prosecutions, you saw the back and forth between the agency and Governor Yaya Bello. We saw how it played out. At first, it felt like a medial trial, and later, the former governor is still going about his normal activities, despite all of the whole talk of, monies were used from government to pay his children's school fees and all of that. Do you think EFCC is not learning anything from that mistake that they made? Some legal minds have said that EFCC went about it the wrong way. Do you think they are making the same mistake?
Listen, EFCC is one, what's it called, organization that we thought we have a breather, or would give us, some form of integrity, cohesion when it comes to public service and all that, and public institutions. But unfortunately, why Peter established it, when we saw where an Inspector General of Police was removed because of fraud, we saw government who were dealt with. PDP did not spare them, but under this government, we know is quite alarming that, an institution like EFCC ought to have all the forensics when it comes to money transactions. So I can't understand what trace the money, because they will tell you money have traces. So why be able to trace where those monies went through, or what went back and forth, who got the contract, who did not execute contract, what came in, what didn't come in when it comes to concerns of crude and all that. So if you see those discrepancies that they know where to go, they know what to do. The FCC done their homework before coming out with some what I call glamorous expose about fraud, just to make themselves look. Truth is this, they are not looking good, because As an institution like that, what do I the what's it called international norm is get your facts, prosecute your case. But what they do most time that I see the EFCC that we have now call you, you'll be the one to now be giving them facts. What you tell them is what they work with, without them having their details, having all the papers, all facts with them before they execute. That is why you always see they will call you. They say they invited this person. After spending 1 or 2 nights, they leave him to go, and then you don't hear any again. Before you bring such personalities of that, that perpetrated fraud, what do? Get all the paperwork, bring them, take them to court. You don't even need to bring them to EFCC to answer questions. Take them to court to go and answer at the court. Then court will answer. You bring your facts, and they can be also there can be adjudication on that matter, by law, but not EFCC. For instance, when they call people for this, in the eyes of the public, the way they have not judged a person fraudulent. The court's duty is to give judgment on such matters, not EFCC doing trial. They are the prosecutor, they are the one that the judge of the case. In the court opinion, the moment EFCC when they put those cases on your neck, people look at you as a fraudulent person. And that for me is no. They have the instrument to prosecute these cases. Why do they have to go on ground in the eyes of the public to see they are doing their work? While people they know have cases is right there sitting in the Senate. We know that the Senate president has fraud with him about what is happening. He's still the Senate president today. So I'm not surprised. It's just one of those things, you see, their own way. Yaya Bello is there, she's trotting around like the Lord of the Manor, nothing is happening for because when you join APC, your sins are forgiven. So you see anything that happens APC with investment and fraud, it can only affect the opposition, not them. Because they are always they are saintly.
All right, we'll take a quick break. Shuaibu, we'll be back to speak about the opposition political parties. So please do stay back with us. We'll be right back to get down into it. What makes the political system what it is today? What are the recurring issues? The tussle for power.
An extremely problematic area.
The tension, the instability of the system. Join LN 24/7 as we take you inside the local and international political arena in the world of politics.
The golden age of America begins right now. I will very simply put America first.
Watch Politics Now on LN 24/7.
Don't miss Politics Now on LN 24/7.
All right, thank you so much for staying with us. The conversation continue, even though we've taken a deep dive into the second half of the hour where we ought to be focusing on matters arising in opposition politics. But let's just get to basics. Tonyesh is live with us. We've got John live with us. This should be interesting. But let's establish some context here for the discussion. PDP is gearing up for its November National Convention in Ibadan. But FCT Minister Nyesom Wike is fiercely challenging the venue where leadership bids, insisting on neutrality amid his feud with party leaders. This comes as PDP unveiled the 110-member committee, yet unity seems elusive with Wike backing separate Rivers local government polls on August 30th. Now, meanwhile, last weekend's by-elections across the 12 states saw APC sweep 12 states, APGA take 2, NNPP 1, and PDP snag just 1 in Oyo amid widespread allegations of vote buying, beaver sabotage like what we saw in Edo State, and intimidation from the PDP, ADC, and Labour Party. ADC positioning as a viable alternative with buzz around Atiku Obi coalition flopped entirely. And of course, they blamed it all on logistics and internal disputes. This raises questions for 2027. Can opposition consolidate, or is APC's grip tightening? Voter turnout hovered at 25 to 30% in many areas, signaling apathy or fear. So, delving into our talking points, you look at what is coming up, the PDP Ibadan Convention. Wike's venue fight and leadership battles threatens the party's unity ahead of 2027. Also, Wike's denial of Ibadan as venue highlights his influence rooted in his G5 group from 2023. PDP insists on proceeding, but this could split votes in key states like Rivers, weakening the party's northern-southern balance. And then the talk of the by-election, the APC's 12-seat sweep, overshadows PDP lone Oyo win with rigging claims questioning INEC's credibility. APC's dominance, hailed by Tinubu as endorsement, contrasts opposition cries of foul. Edo PDP rejected the results over Beavers issues, while Labour Party and ADC cited vote buying. And this mirrors local government polls where ruling parties often win home areas. Now let's talk about the big one. The Atiku Obi alliance flopped in the polls with logistic failures dimming 2027 prospects. I mean, if you recall that trending tweet, okay, it's no longer Twitter, it's now X, the X post by Bayo Nanuga, he said, "How market?" And that got a lot of people really wagging their tongues and really angry. Now, ADC's hyped merger talks with Atiku Obi and other aimed at a mega opposition, but the by-election shutouts in Kaduna and elsewhere exposes weaknesses. Chieftains are blaming poor funding and diaspora disputes, questioning if ADC can outshine PDP. Just take a look at the infographics. Look at the snapshot. 12 seats for APC, APGA 2, NNPP 1, PDP 1. And the challenges are not far from the infographics there. Voter turnout, rigging allegations, widespread vote buying, Beavers sabotage, and all of the internal leadership crisis. I mean, it's just a long way to go to 2027. But can a lot change? John, you are seeing all of these dynamics within the world of opposition. The APC seems to be having a swell time, rejoicing and riding on their narrative that, I mean, all of this talk of opposition is here, and they could not even prove anything during the by-elections. What are your thoughts?
Well, you see, if you look at it, the whole context from this particular government or party, we wait for Nigeria, you know, because we're all witnesses to the kind of abuse of the rules that they've done. Some people have even lost interest to exercise their democratic or their right, democratic right to choose whoever, to the point judiciary is said to be another arm of the AP. Because if you look at, let's quickly look at action with Gidalo. You know, that was particularly that killed the forms. He won clearly. And what do you do? There what's it called? Abracadabra, and it's someone that in the election is so disheartening. So if coming to this by now, you know, the state resources will have been this, you know, so much for what we gathered, so much, you know, was disbursed to ensure that they win this election, right? So, see, winning some of those states, which is predominantly within jurisdiction, it is not something that is a surprise. Expected because they want to share say power and also the live of democracy, which of course we all know. No matter what it is, if people are hungry and are angry, there is no way, you know, they will vote for them. Or rather, people are angry, they won't vote for them. But what they will do is to coerce to kind of mobilize people with. Because as much as 200 naira was given for get you know why to vote. Do you know why? Because they weaponize hunger and that those people that are voting within those areas, of them are hungry. The new ones will not because they feel a whole or is their vote. So 500 naira, 1,000 was a game of money. This weaponization of hunger. Because for anyone that gets 1,000, look at these people right now. Tell me which one among them has 20,000 in their accounts standing there to eat. So whatever they at that particular time is to feed, and they know that meal attitude, and probably looking for another one. So it was only election, and don't forget why this will succeed for APC because is an election. By the time you're doing the general election, with their say, oh, be an article loss. For me, I don't see them as losing. For instance, Atiku has not even declared official any of the political parties. Obi has not come out to say he's in this particular party, as it were, because we know the crisis within LP. Yes, he campaigned for somebody under ADC. We know what happened, and we know the trajectory between Soludo.
John, can you hear me?
APC. I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Yes.
I can hear you.
Mentioned Peter Obi. I wanted to cut in. He campaigned for the ADC candidate in his own state, and he did not win.
I was going somewhere. I was going somewhere. Don't forget why he would not win is because one, as he officially, declared for ADC and say, look, I'm in this coalition full time. That is also something for them that might not work. And don't forget, Obi on that campaigning, for them it were to be votes. It now became probably something of personality, what's it called, issue, right? So ADC is not from ground when they talk about what the coalition can bring to play. Don't forget, in 2015, APC also lost a lot of seats, and people who PDP were all worried they are momentum and all that. But we saw what happened in the general election and what followed up. So if APC let them that it's time the ADC get their act together in the next few months, what we're saying it wouldn't be this great story. They were left cold as it is. So it is not a loss for Atiku and Obi. It is democracy at play. Let's see what happens, and also the issue of votes by the ruling party, by the ruling party, right? And an assessment of what kind of political party we're playing right now or in government towards our democracy to make it fair and transparent.
His venue challenge, which seems personal. How does it tie to broader PDP zoning debates, and could it lead to defections? What is going on? I mean, in that interview on Channels TV, he was very vocal about the fact that he did not like the idea that this convention will be in Ibadan. I know you have removed yourself from anything PDP, so permit me to call you a former member of the PDP. So what is going on here? Hello, John.
Right? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, so it's so funny for you to have referred to me as a former member of ABBA for 20-something years. Now, the issue here is this. This is exactly why a lot of people is enchanted with this political party called PDP. Individual thinks he owns the party. Have agreed that there will be a meeting. Letter was dispatched sometime in July, that towards July, to have that meeting they had last time on or so. That they were going to have a convention to hold in Ibadan. People, they saw them in Wadata House. What happened? They no, the one that owns the PDP says he's not aware. I think there's a letter going around in which Sanyawu signed inviting him for that meeting. Right? So how come he's claiming if not to cause confusion and for APC? How come? So for me, if that convention, because it's going to happen to people, confusion amongst them, and people will lose hope, will lose what's it called, comfort party. They'll be in disarray for the gain of APC. Because what most people will do, most politicians will do, people that don't have sense, is to quickly say, oh, our party is not doing well, let's go to APC so that they can have an inroad, so that they can have power. But people that have conscience, if they are going to defect based on probably what will play out concerning that convention, they will come to where they look. Yes, we're disenchanted with this particular party, APC or PDP or whatever. Let's ensure we have a new platform that can at least drive agenda, not a one-man party. Like what we're even APC. And it's so unfortunate that PDP has got it to this point. Just morning I read where former governor Benga Daniel was suspended for anti-activities in his state. Where somebody that called himself a next member of PDP has been, running his mouth for months, right? Telling how PDP cannot exist without him, playing how he has supported and endorsed an opposition member in court, that's Tinubu, as a president to be voted for in 2027, and nothing has been done. Here we are, PDP will come out with press release and tell, oh, if you plan the party, we're going to deal with you. Nobody has been dealt with. Disciplinary committee, what have they done? Nothing. So for me, that has brought disenchantment to a lot of us. That brought this point. Painful that I want to share to hear being a former PDP. Who wants to place there's this tension where you're so disillusioned about what's happening, you don't even know what to happen in it. Waiting for the weekend on a parallel convention.
All right, Mr. John, I want to thank you so much for your thoughts. I wish we had more time about the issues we had connected in the first place, but it's always a delight to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, as our custom is on LN247, we put up a poll on our X handle. We asked the question, what is the biggest hurdle for opposition parties like PDP and ADC ahead of 2027? And this is the result of that polling. 50% of you said it's internal divisions, 25% said rigging. Can we still have the poll up again? Okay, rigging and bias, 25%, and then lack of funding, 0%. United coalition failure, 25%. Well, that is where we draw the curtain on tonight's discussion. Thank you so much for making a date with us. And of course, it's been thought-provoking as always. Thanks to our guest, John Schweibel, Tonye Bakanista. Our team has been working behind the scenes to ensure he connects with us. Thank you so much for the effort. And also Ben Emerua from Rivers State. Unfortunately, we could not connect with him, but thank you so much for the efforts. That's the word that the team behind the scenes are telling me. Well, that's Politics Now tonight, from NNPC's corruption shadows to opposition's rocky road. Nigeria's politics never sleeps, and of course we won't sleep right here. Join us next time for more Unfiltered Truth. Good night. Once again, my name is Morno Balagubo.